of a degree of freedom?
Yes, sir.
Means the number of independent coordinates required to define the motion of a system. See, in this case, if you look at, there are two masses, M1 and M2. They are connected by three springs, K1, K2, K3, and three dampers whose damping coefficient is B1, B2, and B3. So our interest is to first derive the equilibrium equation for this system, and then we'll see that how I can solve this problem and proceed with the modal analysis. This 2 degree of freedom system, when you are considering this 2 degree of freedom system, this 2 degree of freedom system will have two natural frequencies. The question may come whether these two natural frequencies are associated to x1 or x2. Correct? Sometimes you may have a doubt, but it is not like that. 2 degrees of freedom is having two natural frequencies. That does not mean it will be associated with any degree of freedom. Okay, 2 degree of freedom system, when it is excited by a external excitation, then it will be deflecting. So depending on the external excitation frequency, the system will respond to that. Suppose we are considering a system whose natural frequency is, let's say, 10 hertz, and external frequency is something around 15 hertz. Let's say second frequency is, natural frequency is also 20 hertz, 10 hertz and 20 hertz, and I am exciting the system by a external exciter with an excitation frequency as 15 hertz. So what will happen? The structure will be vibrating. In this case, the structure will be vibrating with the natural frequency and also the external excitation frequency, because this external excitation is basically supplying energy which is having component of natural frequency. Means when structure will be vibrating, it will be extracting the certain amount of energy to the first natural frequency, and then due to external frequency, whatever external excitation frequency is there, structure also will respond to that. So whether it will be vibrating in mode 1 or mode 2, that depends on basically external excitation and also nature of the excitation. See, in this case, probably we have considered only linear system. So if there is a linear force, then either both the natural frequencies will be excited or one natural frequency will be excited. If let us consider that external natural frequency, the excitation frequency is less than the natural frequency. So what will happen? The external excitation will not have sufficient energy to excite mode 1. So there is a possibility that mode 1 also will be excited, but the amplitude of vibration or contribution of the amplitude towards the overall vibration, it will be negligible. It will be vibrating on the external frequency. Is it okay, whatever I am saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So that's what in this beginning of the analysis, I am not considering the damping, whatever we have considered damping here, I am ignoring this damping in our initial calculation. So I have taken here 3 springs and 2 masses, and degree of freedom is attached to the mass, because mass can move. Spring also can move, but we will not consider that as a degree of freedom with our dynamic system, because spring independently can move, but whatever the motion of this mass M1 and M2, with that actually we will be defining the degrees of freedom. In this case, actually two masses are there, so this system will have 2 degree of freedom system. Means it can have 2 natural frequencies and 2 natural mode shape. See, we'll have, I'll be coming to that. When structure is having 2 degrees of freedom, it can have 2 natural frequencies, and when each frequency is, the structure is vibrating in that frequency, there will be a displacement relationship among these masses. So that we are calling as the modal vector or natural mode shape. Okay. Let me come to now this system. Suppose I am giving a initial displacement to this system x2 naught and also to this one x1 naught. So what will happen? The both the systems will be moving in rightward direction. So when it is moving in this direction, there will be a spring force which will be acting to resist the motion. So that I can define as K1. Let's say it is, though I am giving initial displacement as x1 naught, but when it is vibrating, I'll be considering that as x1. So there will be restoring force in this direction. Similarly, when I am giving this K3, when it is moving in this direction, there will be restoring force offered by K3, which will be K3 multiplied by x2. Okay? And it will be, nature of the force will be in this direction, because the system is moving towards rightward direction, so restoring force will be opposite to that. Now let us consider that these two forces x2 minus x1, sorry, these two displacements x2 minus x1 is greater than 0. So what will happen? This spring is subjected to a force which will be basically, it is trying to move in this direction. So the relative displacement for this spring will be x2 minus x1, and I am considering it is positive. That means motion is in this direction. So there will be a restoring force which will be acting on this spring. It will be K2 multiplied by x2 minus x1. Is it clear to you what I am saying? The restoring, let only spring forces, so that I can come to the equilibrium. First thing what I am saying, due to motion, K1 will be applying a force or giving a resistance with a force which is K1 x1. Similarly, spring 3 will have K3 into x2, whereas spring K2 will be subjected to relative motion, and that relative motion is x2 minus x1. I am considering this relative motion is positive, greater than 0. That means the displacement, overall displacement of this spring will be in the rightward direction. So restoring force will be acting opposite to that in this direction. Restoring force will be in this direction, that is K2 multiplied by x2 minus x1. Okay. Now let me come to inertia force. So if it is moving in this direction, then there will be also a restoring force in terms of inertia force, that is called as, means that will be equal to m1 multiplied by acceleration of that mass. So m1 x1 double dot. Similarly, there will be a restoring inertia force that will be equal to m2 x2 double dot. Because this mass 2 is experiencing x2 displacement, mass m1 is experiencing x1 displacement. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
So yes, as we have considered only spring and mass, so the forces will be related to spring force and inertia force. We have not considered damping. because when I'm talking of the normal mode analysis or natural vibration without damping, then only certain specific relationship exists. That's why I am initially not considering the damping, but in our actual analysis, damping will be there. I will be considering damping in our calculation there. Then let me come to now equilibrium. If you look at now this mass M1 is subjected to one force, that is force that will be equal to K1 X1, and inertia force M1 into X1 double dot, and there is a spring force that is K2 multiplied by X2 minus X1. Similarly, the force acting on the mass 2, these are the forces, and this will be K3 into X2. No, sorry, this is not in this direction, it will be in this direction. So inertia force will be also M2 X2 double dot. Okay, now just see the equilibrium force, equilibrium of mass. Mass 1 will be in equilibrium when all the forces acting on mass 1 is equal to 0. There are some forces, external forces, there are some forces, internal forces. The inertia force is coming from the external. You don't know why this inertia force is acting opposite to the motion. You have heard about D'Alembert's principle, correct?
Yes, sir. Or we can also
Yes,
say
sir.
that rearranging the equation of motion, we get this.
Yeah, yeah. So let me first consider this inertia force M1 X1 double dot plus K1 X1. Then I'm coming to this minus. This is actually in the opposite direction. That's why I'm taking minus K2 multiplied by X1 minus X1, X2 minus X1 equal to 0. So after simplification, we'll be getting this equation. First equation is M1 X1 double dot plus K1 plus K2 into X1 minus K2 X2 equal to 0. This is our first equation. Then I am coming to the equilibrium of mass 2. For equilibrium of mass 2, it is giving M2 X2 double dot, that is acting in the opposite direction of the motion. Then we are taking here the So it is coming to this spring forces K2 into X2 minus X1, which is also in the same direction of the inertia force, and K3 into X2, that is also in the same direction. So finally rearranging the equation, it will be M2 X2 double dot minus K2 into X1, then plus K2 plus K3 multiplied by X2. So this is the second equilibrium equation with respect to the inertia force and elastic restoring force. Now if I express this in the matrix form, so I'll be getting this, so it will be related to this. So M1 0 0 M2 X1 double dot X2 double dot. Similarly, when I'm taking the spring forces, so I'll be considering X1 and X2. If you look at that, if I rearrange those two equations, it will be coming as K1 plus K2 minus K2 minus K2, K2 plus K3, then whole thing multiplied by X1, X2. So if you look at here, this is basically our mass matrix. This is our stiffness matrix. Mass matrix, and this is our stiffness matrix. So if you look at these two matrices, the characteristics of the matrices for this linear system, whatever we have considered, the mass matrix is symmetric, and also whatever stiffness matrix I am getting, it is also symmetric. These two are symmetric, and this is our diagonal terms, and these two are off diagonal terms. And whatever system we are getting, that is, it is satisfying the requirement related to the elastic system that stiffness matrix has to be symmetric. You know why it has to be symmetric, no? You have heard about Maxwell reciprocal theory. So it has to satisfy, if it is a linear elastic system, it has to satisfy Maxwell reciprocal theory, or sometimes we can say that whatever we calculate the influence coefficient, the influence coefficient matrix has to be symmetric, because with our basic assumption that linear elastic system is giving a linear displacement, means if the force is within the linear elastic limit, then force displacement and forces are related by a certain coefficients, or displacement is proportional to the external force, and that way, or in other way, whatever we have taken in our the basic equation, where stress is proportional to strain. So in our case here, we are considering that instead of stress, it is force proportional to displacement delta. Yes, you want to ask something?
So can we also say that in this case the stiffness matrix is symmetric because of the Newton's third law, the forces acting
No,
are equal up to
that
this.
Newton's third law is coming into picture, because for every reaction there will be a equal and opposite action. There will be equal and opposite reaction. With that Newton's third law of motion, we are able to get what are the restoring forces. And when I am taking the summation of all the forces, it is coming to a system which is, because in Newton's method, if you look at, there it was actually considered for a rigid body system, that what we sometimes we call as the stereo mechanics. Means there we have not considered any elastic system. We have considered external force. Whatever force I am applying, the whole mass or the body will be moving with that system. Basically, to explain our planetary motion. There, though there will be elastic deformation, we are not considering that elastic deformation. With respect to our rigid body motion, the elastic deformation is negligible. It is actually coming, means restoring forces we are getting from the Newton's third law of motion, and then there is a concept of equilibrium, whatever you have learned in your mechanics. With respect to that, we are finally getting a system with a matrix, whatever we are explaining with a matrix, and this matrix has to be satisfied. This, what is the meaning of this? Symmetric means, suppose I am applying a unit force to the unit displacement to mass 1, or unit force to the mass 1, then both mass 1 and mass 2 will be deforming. Now I am saying, if I change the position of that force, from that unit force from mass 1 to mass 2, then mass 1 and the displacement experienced by mass 1, in the earlier case displacement experienced by mass 2 will be same. That is the Maxwell reciprocal theory, or in a continuous elastic system, what we have explained. Suppose I am applying a unit force here, P, and then I am calculating the displacement here. Whatever displacement I will be getting, suppose I change this force to this position and then measure the displacement at this point. Okay. So it is not coming directly from Newton's third law of motion, but from the concept of equilibrium and other, because Newton's, if you look at, Newton's theories are based on all rigid body motions. Sometimes we call stereo mechanics. Is it clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So what I was telling here, see, force stress is proportional to strain. That is basically when we take a proportional constant, sigma is equal to E into epsilon, where basically E is a proportional constant, and in this case E we define as Young's modulus. But similarly, the force is proportional to displacement. Then if I remove this proportional constant, so F equal to K into delta, where K is nothing but stiffness. And if it is a multi-degree of freedom system, then that K is become whatever we are getting here is a matrix. So if I have, if I am considering a full aircraft system, there will be a number of degrees of freedom because it is a continuous system or structure. Depending on how I am discretizing, it can have so many degrees of freedom. So that way I will be defining the full aircraft system as a multi-degree of freedom system. Then let me come to this. So that's what whatever I have mentioned. When structure is vibrating, it will be vibrating in same natural frequency or same frequency, but they have different amplitude, or the amplitude is different for mass 1 and mass 2. If I take that way, so x1 I will be defining a1 multiplied by sine omega t plus alpha. This omega is the vibrating frequency and alpha is the phase lag. And similarly, x2 will be a2 sine omega t plus alpha. And if I am taking this way, this is actually what we take the solution of a differential equation. I can take a trigonometric function, or I can take alternative form, whatever I call as the exponential function. This is the alternative form of the solution. X1 is equal to A1 e to the power I omega t, X2 equal to A2 e to the power I omega t, where the natural vibrating frequencies are same, whereas their amplitude is different. Now, if I substitute this information, that means if I take this either this one or this one, so if I take x double dot, so it will be minus a1 omega square e to the power I omega t. Similarly, x2 double
So
dot.
why are we assuming the solution here?
Eh?
Why are we assuming the solution in advance?
No. I am not assuming this solution in advance. See, if you look at, go back to your first year's engineering course, engineering mathematics course, you have learned that the solution of a governing differential equation with time derivative, I have to take the solution with respect to time and also with respect to space. So here, if you look at, this system is based on the time variable and the space variable. These are space variable. These two are space variable. So to solve this type of governing differential equation means, if I need to solve a equation like this, let's say mx double dot plus kx equal to 0, the solution has to be based on the spatial information and frequency information or time information. As we are time and frequency, they are analogous. So I am taking here, it is, let's say, a e to the power I omega t. So this I omega t can be expressed in the sine function also. This is inherently, if you go through your engineering mathematics course, where you have gone through the solution procedures, either we take a trigonometric function or we take a exponential function. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
And this first part is the spatial information, second part is the time information. This I'll be talking of basically spatial.
Okay, sir.
Spatial information, and this is time information. Time information is in this case it is time, but when we are, because in a system we can have four dimensional system, no, three Cartesian coordinate system x, y, z, the spatial coordinate system, then with respect to time, which is basically conceiving the time dimension is very difficult. Means at any point, suppose I am considering a system, the time starts from there, 0, time t equal to 0, and then we are talking of the response of the system with respect to that time frame. But getting solution in time domain directly is a little difficult. That's why we are going directly to frequency domain. That time and frequency, they are, we can use a transformation concept. Either we can use Laplace transform, or we can use the usual trigonometric or exponential transformation from time to frequency. Okay.
And you are
Yes.
just doing parametric substitution, right?
Yeah. Basically, you see, in the mathematical sense, it is parametric substitution. But as we are considering a physical problem, I am saying it is having a physical implication of our solution. In this, whatever solution I am taking, there is a spatial information, there is a time information. And the spatial information does not change with time, whereas the time information changes with time. Am I clear about what I am talking?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let us come to this now. Whatever we have taken here, minus a2 omega square e to the power I omega t, and then substituting in this previous equation, in these two equations, and simplifying, so we will be getting minus m1 a1 omega square plus k1 plus k2 a1 minus k2 a2 equal to 0. Similarly, second equation we will be getting here, and now I am going to express this equation in terms of matrix form, and also I am dividing the whole equation in terms of this information. Means I am taking here in terms dividing first equation by m1, second equation by m2. If you look at here, whatever equation I have obtained here, I am dividing whole equation by m1 and second equation by m2 to normalize the equation. So it will be minus omega square plus k1 plus k2 by m1 and minus k2 by m1. Similarly, minus k2 by m2 minus omega square plus k2 plus k3 by m2. It is in matrix multiplied by a1 and a2. So what I have done, if you look at here, whatever equations we got, which was actually coupled with time and space, with this information, actually what I have done, I have separated out the space, time information. Basically it has gone to frequency domain, and the time information has gone to this. So now I am saying, if this is equal to 0, then there is a two possibilities. Either these two spatial values are 0, which is not possible, means which is not, if we consider that a1 a2 equal to 0, then solution does not exist. So whatever we have opted for to get the solution, we will not get any solution from here. So obviously I will not take this equal to 0. I will be taking from here this determinant of the matrix, determinant of the matrix equal to 0. So that's what I have taken it here for non-trivial solution. That is the concept in mathematics we call as non-trivial solution. Trivial solution is a1 a2 equal to 0 and the matrix diameter means determinant of the matrix equal to 0. That is a trivial solution. But non-trivial solution means where I can get some information from this system, then I'll be assuming that A1, A2 not equal to 0, whereas the multiplying matrix, the determinant of the multiplying matrix should be equal to 0. That's what means, that is the, yes?
So did you substitute x1 and x2 as a1 e raised to iota
Yeah, I have
in the
substituted
matrix
that.
equation and
Yeah.
separated the real and imaginary
Yeah.
parts?
No, I have not taken separate, means complex part here. If you look at either sine or I am taking either trigonometric function, then both the equations will have this sine function common, sine omega t plus sine omega t plus alpha, or e to the power I omega t will be common. So I have taken that out. If you look at here, let me just derive here. So after substituting in the first equation, I will have m1 omega square a1 e to the power I omega t. Similarly, I will have k1 plus k2, sorry, k1 plus q1 plus k2
Okay,
multiplied.
got it. So you substituted and merged between mass and stiffness.
Yeah. This is equal to 0. So basically I have taken e to the power I omega t common from both the terms and taken it out. Okay.
Yes.
Similarly, the second equation also I am getting that way. And then I am saying that the non-trivial solution will give, I will get a non-trivial solution when determinant of the matrix equal to 0. That's what I have taken it here. The determinant of this matrix equal to 0, and then I'll be getting a determinant of that. If I take the determinant omega to the power 4 minus omega square, I'll have these two terms, means omega square multiplied by this, omega square multiplied this, that I have taken it here, omega square into the this terms, and then the constant terms where omega will not be there. So these are the constant terms. So finally this equation can be expressed actually x square ax x square plus bx plus c, the typical quadratic equation. Okay, where in this case omega square is x is nothing but omega square. If I substitute x equal to omega square, then it will become a this equation, similar form. So solution of this equation, whatever you have studied in your class 12, 11, 12 courses, x equal to, so from here I will be getting the solution is minus b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac divided by twice a. Okay.
So,
Correct.
can you please explain it again why the special part of the solution is not equal to 0? Are we taking
Okay.
only?
No, I'm saying if you look at back, if I take a1, a2 equal to 0, then both the equations will be 0. x1 will be 0, x2 will be 0. Either trigonometric form, that means whatever solution I am opting, I will not be getting the solution.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Whereas if I take the determinant of the solution, if you look at back, if I take determinant equal to 0, that is not coming into in this solution directly. It is coming indirectly. That's why I am saying it is a non-trivial solution where I am not taking a1, a2 equal to 0. I am taking the only the determinant of the matrix is equal to 0. Okay. And then after taking the means calculating the determinant, that's whatever I have calculated here, determinant of the matrix is coming as omega to the power 4 minus omega square multiplied by whole thing multiplied by k1 plus k2 by m1 plus k2 plus k3 by m2. Then there is a constant term, that is k1 plus k2 by m1 multiplied by k2 plus k3 by m2 minus k2 whole square divided by m1 m2. This whole thing equal to 0. That is the determinant of the matrix equal to 0. And that equation I am saying we can express in terms of this quadratic equation, which is popularly you have studied in your 11-12 class, that is ax square plus bx equal to c, ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. The solution of that equation is nothing but minus b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac by twice a. Okay, where this x is nothing but in this case x is nothing but omega square, and in this case a is 1, b is this is b, and whole thing is c. Constant term is a is 1 and x is omega square. So that's what I have written it here, solution omega 1 comma 2. But after taking the non-trivial solution, I'll be able to get the natural frequency of the oscillating system. Omega 1 comma 2, that is the two roots. Basically here 1 comma 2. Whatever we get, the root of this equation ax square plus bx equal to c. Same thing I am taking omega 1 comma omega 2 whole square is equal to half minus b. If you look at here, twice a I am taking, a is 1, so half I am taking it here, half minus b, so it is k1 plus k2 by m1 plus k2 plus k3 by m2. This is minus b by 2a, again plus minus 1 by 2a, whole thing multiplied by square root b square minus 4ac. If you look at here, this is the b square, 4 a into c. A is 1, c is this term. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So means considering the non-trivial solution, I am able to get the solution of this equation, and that solution is nothing but the two natural frequencies omega 1 omega 2 omega 1 square and omega 2 square, and those two natural frequencies are expressed here. If you come back here again, I have written that expression in little different form, half k1 plus k2 by m1 plus k2 plus k3 by m2 plus minus half k1 plus k2 by m1 minus k2 plus k3 by m2 whole square plus 4k2 whole square divided by m1 m2 whole thing divided by multiplied by square root, means basically half to the power half, that is square root. And if you go back in this equation, I can this is first equation and second equation, either first equation or second equation. If I take the displacement relationship a1 by a2 for omega 1 square from first equation, if you look at from the first equation, I can get this relation k2 minus k2 divided by m1 omega 1 whole square plus k1 plus minus k1 minus k2. And from the equation 2, if I go back, equation 2, I am getting this relation. These two relations a1 by a2 when it is vibrating in omega 1 or a1 by a2 when it is vibrating in omega 2, from this I am getting from first equation 1, and this I am getting from equation 2. Though I am getting two equations from equation 1 and equation 2, two different expression, but numerical value will be always same. It will be constant. That is the meaning of the modal analysis. I'll have, let's say in this case, I have considered 2 degrees of freedom. These 2 degrees of freedom system will have 2 natural frequencies and 2 mode shapes. These are the mode shapes. Basically, the displacement relationship, whatever displacement relationship I am getting finally that is the that we can express in terms of vector, and that vector will be calling as the modal vector. So in a simple form, let's express here. Let's say A1 I am taking a value, A2 I am taking as a 1, then A1 I can get as minus K2 divided by M1 omega 1 whole square minus K2 minus K2 minus K1 minus K2, and this is the 1. Is it okay to understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So either I will take this expression or this expression, that does not matter. Whether I will take first equation or second equation. Similarly, when I am going to multi-degree of freedom system, whether I take first equation to get the displacement relationship or second equation to get the displacement relationship, that is immaterial. And in this case, like whatever I have obtained, if I take the second mode will have, with respect to expression will be same, but value is different. K2 divided by M omega 1 whole, sorry, for 2, I have to take omega 2 square. Instead of omega 1, I have to take omega 2 square minus K1 minus K1 minus K2 and 1. Omega A2 I am considering as 1, means I am normalizing with respect to displacement 2 and then finding the value of displacement of mass 1, A1. So this relationship between the two motions are unique. This is unique. Actually, whatever I am getting, these are all unique values for a system where means unique in the sense it is unique for a particular system, but it is not universally unique. It is unique for a particular vibrating system where we know the mass matrix, we know the stiffness matrix. Okay. So let me come to the next here. Now I am taking a system with K1 plus K3 equal to K, K2 equal to K2 and M1, M2 equal to M. Then I can find out the natural frequencies. Omega 1 square will be K by M. Omega 2 square I will be getting as K plus twice K2 by M. And now if you look at back, if I substitute here in this expression, I will be getting the relationship like this. You just look at here, whatever I have taken the expression in this case, I have taken this A1 by A2 for omega 1 square, where omega 1 square I got as K by M. For the second system, whatever I have taken here, where K1 equal to K3 equal to K, K2 equal to K2, M1, M2 equal to M. Now I am substituting omega 1 square is K by M. Omega 1 square is K by M. That is basically, it will be going to this relation. So I will have A1 plus A2, A1 plus, divided by A2. So minus K2 divided by M1 by omega 1 square. M1 is M, omega 1 square by K by M. So it will become K minus K1 is K minus K2. So after simplification, it will be coming as 1. Similarly, for mode 2, I will be substituting, if you look at here, mode 2, I have taken K plus twice K2 by M. K plus twice K2 by M, if I substitute, I will be getting as minus 1. So that is the modal vector for omega 1, 1 and 1, omega 2, 1 minus 1. The meaning is that when the structure is vibrating in mode 1, that's what I have shown it here. When structure is vibrating in mode 1, both the masses will be moving with unit displacement along rightward direction. Means I can just draw that system again just to demonstrate you. So this is moving in this direction with a unit displacement. This is also moving with a displacement with unit direction. Okay, this is mode 1. That's whatever I have plotted it here. Both x1 and x2 are same, whereas displacement at this point is 0, displacement at this point other end of the spring is 0, and I have plotted this mode shape. Is it mode shape is clear to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me just draw the second mode shape. That means I am taking it here in this direction. Let's say it is moving in this direction as one unit displacement. Then it has been compressed because it has mass 2 has moved in the opposite direction, negative direction, -1. So that's why I have taken the sign in the direction. That's why I am not writing as -1. So this is mode 2. That is the mode 2 information. Where if you look at that from the mode 1, the spring K2 is not participating in the vibrational mode, first mode of vibration, because both masses are moving in the same direction with unit displacement. That means in this case, this K2 mass, spring K2 is not subjected to any relative displacement. Relative displacement for K2 is 0. That means in the mode 1 vibration, spring K2 is not participating. Okay, is it clear now? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And if you look at here in the second mode, this all three springs are coming into picture. All three modes are coming into all three springs are participating in this mode 2, and we are getting a displacement according to that. Means if you look at here, that's why in the first frequency, okay, I have written it here also. In the first frequency, only omega 1 is nothing but omega 1 square is k by m, whereas in omega 2, second frequency, the both spring 1 and 2 are participating. Is it okay? This is as per our definition, it was K1, this is K2, so K3. In the mode 1, only K1 and K3 are participating in mode 1. And if you look at here, in the mode 2, all three springs are participating. Because in the relative motion, this spring 2 is subjected to twice of the displacement of K1 and K2. That's what it is reflecting here also. If you look at this is K1 plus 2K2 by M. The relative displacement of spring 2 is twice of spring 1 and 3. That's what it is reflecting in this natural frequency also. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you need any break or I'll continue?
So break.
Okay, 5 minutes break. It is now 8:50, 55. So by 9:10, 9:05, 10 minutes break. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Please join back. You can leave now. Keep it on and leave now. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Hello. Can I take the attendance now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Rajesh Meena, Priyam Dalmia, Siddhant Raj Jindal, Aman Sangman, Phoni Sai Ganesh, Dikrit Rathod,
Present, sir.
Kajal Chaudhary,
Present, sir.
Chandramouli,
Present, sir.
Yuvraj Kumar,
Sir, Fanisai Ganesh present, sir.
Phoni Sai Ganesh. Okay. Yuvraj Kumar, Barun Trishul,
Present, sir.
Aditya, Ajay Tanela, Jitendra Pradhan, Kotapalli Vivek,
Present, sir.
Kritik Santosh, Rahul Raj Kumar, Siddhant Gupta, Arghanir Giri,
Present, sir.
Sir, this
Astosh
is
Da,
Kritik Santosh. I'm present. My
Sir,
mic was
Rahul
not
Raj.
turned on.
Kritik Santosh. Okay.
Sir, Rahul
Yes,
Raj.
sir.
Rahul Raj,
Hello, sir.
Yes.
This is Yuvraj, sir. So my mic was not working, sir. So that's
Yuvraj.
it, sir.
Okay. Siddhant, Astosh Das,
Present, sir.
Lilaram Srikar,
Present, sir.
Rafsan Singh,
Present, sir.
Devesh Dharmendra Bhai, Shivam Pandey, Shivam,
Present, sir.
Divya Datta,
Present, sir.
Divya,
Present,
Shreya
sir.
Samudra, Shreya Samudra,
Present, sir.
Sai Harshit,
Present, sir.
Naga Venkata Satta,
Present,
Surya
sir.
Bardhan,
Present, sir.
Nikhil Pankaj Mantri,
Present, sir.
then Chandu Palla Sai Teja,
Present, sir.
Chandu Patla, no? Patla Sai Teja, okay. Devanik Das,
Present, sir.
Bhisham Kumar Thakur, Bhisham,
Present, sir.
Parita,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nitin Sharma,
Present, sir.
Divyasri,
Present, sir.
Kesrinath Chaudhary,
Yes, sir.
Vignesha,
Yes, sir.
Thomas Pal,
Yes, sir.
Nadim U. Rahman,
Present, sir.
Ayush Gupta,
Yes, sir.
Prithvi Narne.
Present, sir.
Anyone left?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Sir, I
please
got
mark it.
disconnected.
Just tell me
Uh,
your name.
Prajapati Devarsh.
Excuse me, sir. 11.
11. 11 I have taken, no? 100, 10011, no?
30003, sir.
30003.
Sir, first one, 15A30013, Rajesh.
Rajesh. Okay.
And 20 seconds, sir.
22nd.
Prajapati Devarsh. 30030.
30030.
Excuse me, sir. You marked 10003 as present. I said 30003.
30003.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Not this one, no? Aman Samban is not there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I am coming to now the lecture. So what I was telling, these two, that's where the difference. See, in the mathematics, you study how you are solving the problem, how you can solve a governing differential equation. But here, that same thing we are applying here to understand physically what is the implication of that solution. Okay, that's what whatever we have obtained here for a particular system, whatever we have considered here, a system with basically two masses are same, K1 K3 equal to K, K2 equal to K2, M1 M2 equal to M. With that assumption, whatever modes we are getting two frequencies. Omega 1 square is K by M, and A1 by A2. The displacement relationship is 1. That means the vector can be represented. The modal vector for this can be represented as in this case as 1 1, and in this case it will be expressed as 1 minus 1, or this way, anyway this minus 1 1, either 1 minus 1 or minus 1 1 does not matter, because their displacement relationship is unique, but shape is not unique. Okay, am I clear here? The displacement relationship is unique. This relationship, what I am calling as the displacement relationship. Displacement relationship. This displacement relationship is unique, whereas the deformed shape is not unique. That's why I am saying either this one or this one is okay. Whether I can take 1 minus 1 or also I can take minus 1 and 1. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So let me come to now. Yes, any other query? Okay.
I did not understand the unique thing. So what, in what
No.
sense, unique in what sense?
No, this unique thing is this. Basically, the ratio A1 and A2, this is unique. The value, whatever we have obtained. Sorry, I have marked here omega 2. Omega 2 is obviously omega 1 and omega 2 are unique, and their relationship, their displacement relationship, that is A1 by A2. That is A1 by A2 is basically the displacement relationship, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this is unique. That means if I take 1 minus 1, here also the ratio is minus 1, whether minus 1 and 1, that is also minus 1. Means I can take this mode shape or I can take this mode shape also. I can take this mode shape also. I am saying with respect to that, the relationship is unique, but deformation shape is not unique.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me come to now the concept of this. I am directly going to the property of this stiffness and mass. That when I am not considering the damping, that I am calling as the orthogonal property of eigenvectors. In this case, if you look at the normal modes or the eigenvectors of the system can be shown to be orthogonal with respect to mass and stiffness as follows. Let the equation, let me just take that whatever finally we got. If you look at, I got a equation mx double dot plus kx equal to 0, which I am defining now with after substituting x equal to a sine omega t or a sine a e to the power I omega t. Then I am getting here basically I am getting minus m omega square to a sine omega t k multiplied by a sine omega t. This is equal to 0. So I am taking this common outside. I am not taking a outside, only sine omega t. So it is minus m omega square a and plus ka. This is equal to 0. So this equation I am expressing in terms of this. If you look at, I have taken k, I am a in place of a, I am taking as xi as a modal vector, ith modal vector. So k into xi is lambda I am defining, that is omega I whole square. So it is lambda I into m into xi. So that same modal dynamic equation means free vibration equation when right hand side equal to 0, I am expressing that in terms of this k xi equal to lambda I m xi. Now come to this equation. Suppose this if I pre-multiply,
Can
yes.
you write relation?
Huh?
How can you say kxi equal to lambda I mxi?
Actually, if you look at here, this equation, I am now in this place. I am writing as m minus m omega square xi plus kxi. Sorry, kxi. Means I am considering ith modal vector, ith mode. So this ith mode I am writing as kxi equal to omega square mxi. Is it okay? I am just rearranging this equation. That same thing I have written it here. If you look at here,
Okay, sir.
this is the equation, this, and then I am writing this that equation. Okay. So
Yes.
now I am considering that. Suppose I pre-multiply by jth modal vector and with a transpose. So xj transpose kxi. If you look at that, whatever equation, just I have multiplied by that. Xj transpose kxi equal to lambda I multiplied by xj transpose mxi. Is it okay? Then I'm starting giving a logic that let us start with the jth mode. I have started with jth mode and pre-multiply by xi transpose. So it will become xi transpose kxi, xi transpose kxj, xi transpose kxj, and this side it will be lambda j xi transpose m xj. Is it clear? First, I have started with ith mode and I have pre-multiplied by jth modal vector, transpose of jth modal vector. And in the second case, first I have started with jth mode and pre-multiplied by transpose of ith mode, means transpose of modal vector of ith mode. And then I am getting these two equations. Okay. Since if you go to our matrix, property of matrix, you will find that this both K and M are symmetric matrices. The following relationship will hold. Means xj transpose kxi should be equal to xi transpose kxj. This is the property of a matrix, symmetric matrix. I have taken it here. Both matrices are symmetric, K and M both are symmetric, and I have taken two modal vectors xi and xj, and so based on the property of the matrix I can get xj transpose kxi equal to xi transpose kxj. Similarly, xj transpose mxi equal to xi transpose mxj. Is it clear, this part? You can go back to your matrix algebra and get a relation of, means this has been proved there also. This, I have just taken the property here, but in the your matrix algebra book, this concept is demonstrated with a proof.
Sir, the xi is the eigenvector for ith mode, right?
Yeah.
So can you explain again, like why kxi equal to lambda I mxi?
This one, previous equation. You come back to this equation. For our, let's say I have only one mass, one spring, this mass, and there is a spring. This is K, this is M. So there will be, suppose it is moving in this direction with X. So there will be a restoring force K into X and inertial force mx double dot. So that's what I have taken the equilibrium of forces. So mx double dot plus kx equal to 0, this equation. Then I am taking x equal to capital X sine omega t. After substituting in this equation, I will get minus m omega square capital X plus kx equal to 0. Then I am rearranging this equation. I am writing that k into xi equal to omega I square m xi, where I am just in place of omega I square, I am putting it lambda I square. Is it okay now? This part.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, this PPT I have converted into PDF and already uploaded in the MS Team. You can go through it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It is there. It is available there in your dialog box. It is there. So finally, I am getting kxi equal to lambda I m xi, because all are related to mode 1, mode ith mode. That's why stiffness matrix K will be means whatever I have calculated, considered. So stiffness matrix, mass matrix, and if I am considering ith mode, then it will be K into xi equal to lambda I m xi. And then I am coming to this. First I am pre-multiplying by jth transpose of the jth modal vector. Then I am getting a relation. Second, I am getting, first I am starting with jth mode, then pre-multiplying the transpose of the modal vector of ith mode. And then I am getting this equation.
Sir, and is lambda equal to A1 by A2?
A1 by A2, square root of, A1 by K by M. Basically K by M. If you come here in this equation, if you solve for omega square is nothing but K by M. Omega square is K by M. That is the natural frequency. If it is a multi-degree of freedom system, then I will take it is a matrix. And this will be also matrix. Means basically I'll be getting a determinant equation. The determinant of that matrix, K matrix by M matrix, that will be equal to 0, will give us the characteristics of the system, which is nothing but natural frequencies. Depending on the degree of freedom, let's say I have 2 degrees of freedom. Here in this case, we have 2 degrees of freedom. We have got 2 natural frequencies. If we have multi-degree of freedom, let's say 10 degrees of freedom, I will be getting 10 natural frequencies.
So this modal vector is a vector comprising of displacements of different modes, right?
Displacement of mode 1. Let's say ith mode, that means related to ith mode, all the points x1, x2, let's say 100 points are there, 100 degrees of freedom are there. I'll be getting for ith mode 100 relationships between their displacement. That is modal vector.
So then why are we giving these I and j to these modal vectors?
That I am coming to, because I want to prove this concept, no? I want to prove this orthogonality concept of the modal vector. That's why I have taken, let me just complete that. Then after doing this, I am getting this equation, equation 2 and equation 3. Now I am from the property of the matrix, I am saying that since K and M are symmetric matrices, the following relationship holds good. Means that is xj transpose kxi equal to xi transpose kxj, and xi transpose xj transpose mxi equal to xi transpose mxj. Now what I will do, I will be subtracting this equation and this equation. Let's say I am subtracting equation 2 from equation 1. As I have already given the information, so if I subtract this and this, so it will become left side will become 0, lambda I minus lambda j multiplied by xi transpose m xj. Is it okay? In previous equation, from this equation I got a relation, this equation I got another relation, then I am subtracting equation 2 from equation 1 and substituting this relationship, that xi transpose xj transpose kxi equal to xi transpose kxj, and similarly xj transpose mxi equal to xi transpose mxj. Then I'll be getting this relation, simplified relation, this one, 0 lambda I minus lambda j equal to xi transpose mxj. So what is the meaning of this? Means when I am getting this equal to 0, two options are there, either lambda I and lambda j equal to 0, or this is equal to 0. But in our case, as I have considered two modes, lambda I and lambda j, obviously this cannot be 0. This is the implication of our solution, non-trivial solution, and then I will be getting this relationship is 0. Is it okay?
So what is the difference between xi and xj?
Xi is the ith modal vector, xj is the jth modal vector. These two are different frequency. Let's say mode 1 and mode 2. I have taken x1 as mode 1, x2 means or I'll say as modal vector, xi is the ith modal vector, means modal vector related to ith natural frequency. Xj is the modal vector of jth natural frequency. Is it clear now?
Sir, in the previous slide,
Previous, yeah.
and when you're pre-multiplying by xj transpose. So what if a lambda I is also a matrix? So you have to
lambda is a value. See, if you look at here in our equation, when I have considered this is the value, no? Lambda I, in our earlier calculation, lambda 1 means omega 1 is k by m, and omega 2, if you look at in our previous example where I have taken the values, in this expression, if you look at this omega 1, basically we got two values of omega 1. Omega 1 square is k by m, is a single value. Omega 2 is k plus twice k2 by m, is another single value only. So in this case, when I am expressing, if you go back here, if I am expressing this equation, so it will become, let's say, k into, here I will not say x1, x2 because you may get confused. So let me consider as phi. This is phi I. So k into phi I will be lambda I m phi I. Is it okay? Where I am saying mode 1, I is 1. Let's say for this case I am taking j is j is 2. So in this case, K is a matrix. If you look at here, K is a matrix which is having K1 plus K2 minus K2 minus K2, K2 plus K3. This multiplied by 1 and 1 is the modal vector 1. That's whatever I have explained here. This is equal to K by M, M matrix,
yes,
M0 multiplied by 1, 1. This is the first equation.
Understood, sir.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
So that way, when I am subtracting, so now I will say xi transpose m xj equal to 0. That means when I am transforming this mass matrix and stiffness matrix to modal coordinate, the off diagonal terms will become 0. That is my, means basically that is the final outcome of this modal transformation, and whatever I need to say, that orthogonality of the modal vector, when I am using the modal vector which is extracted from only the system of this, let's say m multiplied by x double dot plus k into x is equal to 0. If I am taking this system and then extracting the values of natural frequencies omega 1, omega 2, omega 3, like that. I have n number of natural frequencies. For each natural frequency, I will have, let's say, phi 1. This will have phi 2. Okay. So, what I am saying, if I am doing the transformation with respect to these modal vectors, the off diagonal terms will become 0. Let me complete this part. After this, what I am saying, when I am taking both values are I equal to 0, I equal to j, then I will be getting this relationship. Xi transpose Kxi is nothing but Ki, and Xi transpose Mxi is equal to Mi. Here, this is nothing but modal steepness. After transformation, I am getting this is equal to modal steepness, this is equal to modal mass. So, meaning is that after doing the coordinate transformation to the modal coordinate, I will be having a system of matrices which are containing only the diagonal terms. Off diagonal terms becomes 0. So, after this transformation, whatever, let's say I am getting k bar, whatever I am saying, after modal transformation, I will have the terms only like this: k1 0 0 0, k2 0 0, k3 0 0. Basic idea of this modal transformation or modal coordinate is transforming the system from physical coordinate to modal coordinate, where I will be able to decouple the system. In the physical system, they are coupled because coordinate x1, x2, x3 all are coupled. But when I am transforming it to the modal coordinate, the whole system I am transforming to the modal coordinate, modal system, then they are uncoupled. And these are basically modal steepness, modal mass. Similarly, I will be having modal mass also. I will have M1 0 0. This is actually, I should use bar. Bar is related to modal mass. So M2, like that, I will have n number of this system. Depending on how I am, whether I am considering all the frequencies or all the modes. Let me come to this slide here. Let me show you. Let's say I have this system. Now I am taking defining Ax is equal to this phi into q. This phi is the modal vector, modal mass, modal matrix, modal matrix, and these are coordinates, modal coordinates. Okay, you got my idea? I am taking this equation, I am taking this equation am into, or let me just take it as let me take this as matrix, means capital M into x double dot plus capital K multiplied by x. This is equal to, let's say, if there is a force outside right hand side, I'll take as F1 and F2. Let's say like that, or F matrix. Okay. Now I am saying x is, I am expressing in terms of the physical displacement related to the modal displacement. This is the modal coordinate or modal displacement, and this is the modal vector. Okay. I am taking a linear sum of the modal displacements and converting into physical coordinate. Is it okay? Hello? Are you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now what I am saying, let me substitute in this equation. I am coming to next page. Okay. Let me just put it here, one slide, extra slide.
Sir, the lambda value, is it absorbed in the Q1, Q2?
No, coming to that. Let me just put a blank slide so that I can explain to you. See, whatever I have taken, mx double dot kx equal to f, right hand side is the force is there. Now what I am saying, the physical displacement I am converting into modal coordinate or modal system, where x is equal to, x is also a vector, it is not single value, x is vector, x multiplied by phi is the, say, means depending on how I am taking the, how many modes I am taking, they will be having the so many columns. Means suppose I am taking 10 modes. So this coordinate, let's say I am considering a physical system which is having 1000 degrees of freedom, and I am taking only first 10 modes for the calculation. So I will have the values of this matrix or dimension of this matrix is 1000 by 10, and this modal coordinate will be 10 by 1. Is it okay? I am expressing physical displacement. This physical displacement is expressed in terms of modal vector. This is the set of modal vector. Each column will have, let's say, mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, like that. I will have first, obviously in this case, we will be going from the first lowest mode and the lowest modal vectors.
The phi will contain the eigenvectors.
Basically eigenvectors.
Okay.
And q are modal coordinate. Okay. Now I am coming to this derivation. Let's say
Q contains the contribution of each mode.
Each mode. Yeah. So I am now substituting in this equation as m multiplied by phi into q. So it will become q double dot plus k into phi multiplied by q, and right hand side will remain as f, modal vector, means force, external force. Now I am doing pre-multiply by phi transpose, okay. So the equation become phi transpose m phi transpose M phi Q double dot. Similarly, I will have phi transpose K into phi then this multiplied by Q, and right hand side will become phi transpose multiplied by F. Okay, let me consider that the whatever I have defined. So it is basically coming as phi transpose means 10 into 10,000, sorry, 1000. This is 1000 by 1000. And this is 1000 by 10. In the previous slide, whatever I have shown it, if you look at, I have defined that I have, let's say I have considered a physical system with 1000 degrees of freedom. So X as a vector 1000 and phi as a vector 1000 by 10, and Q I am considering first 10 modes. So it is 10 by 1. So now I am doing the modal transformation. After this transformation, I will have basically modal mass multiplied by Q double dot modal coordinate plus I will have K bar, the modal stiffness multiplied by Q. This is right hand side will become F bar, modal force. Okay. If you now look at the this modal mass, it will be only diagonal because I have done the transformation, modal transformation. This will be 0, off diagonal terms will be 0, this also will be 0. So similarly, after transformation, I will have these are 0, this is 0, this is 0, only diagonal terms will exist. Okay. Is it okay? Is it clear? After transformation, why only diagonal terms are existing and off diagonal terms are 0?
Transformation part again.
See, what I have proved in the earlier expression, that I have proved it that xi transpose kxj will be equal to 0, that is off diagonal terms will be equal to 0. Then I have mentioned that xi transpose kxi will be ki, that is modal mass, modal stiffness. Similarly, xi transpose mxi is modal mass. Now I am coming to this equation. I am saying that I have considered a system mx double dot plus kx equal to F external force. I am defining x with respect to, or I am defining the physical displacement in terms of modal vector and modal coordinate, phi multiplied by q. This phi multiplied by q, when I substitute in the this equation, I am substituting in this equation, then it will become capital M phi q double dot k into capital phi into q equal to F. Then I am doing the pre-multiplication, pre-multiplying by phi transpose. So it will become phi transpose M phi q double dot plus phi transpose k phi into q. This is equal to phi transpose into F. So after this transformation, whatever I am saying, after this transformation, it will become modal mass and modal stiffness. And if you look at the size of this matrix is 10 by 10, and this is 10 by 1, this is also 10 by 10, 10 by 1, and this force vector also become 10 by 1, because we have transformed into modal coordinate and we have considered only 10 modes. Suppose I am considering 100 modes, then the equation will be 100 by 100. And this modal mass and modal stiffness will contain only diagonal terms. Each diagonal correspond to the modal stiffness and modal mass. Omega, this first one, let's say M11 bar will be nothing but omega 1 whole square. Similarly, M22 will become omega 2 square. Like that, sorry, not M11. M11 will become M11 will become M11. Sorry, the modal stiffness will become this one. K11 will become omega 1 whole square. K22 become, sorry, not M11 whole square. And this will become M22 omega 2 whole square. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
That means when I am calculating the omega 1 square, it will be, sorry, this is not K11, K22. So it will be basically omega 1 square will be become omega K11 by M11. And I will have, instead of considering this multi-degree of freedom system, which is having 1000 degrees of freedom, after transforming to modal coordinate, I have only 10 single degree of freedom system converted in the modal coordinate. And the advantage is that I will be able to get the solution quickly, and I can map it back to the physical model anytime whenever I need. That is the concept we are using in our aeroelasticity calculation, because we cannot do the aeroelasticity calculation for full aircraft model or full physical model. Instead of that, I am considering only the modal model. Yes. You have any other doubt?
So so what is the difference between this approach and the approach by taking the Fourier transform?
No, Fourier transform is basically we are transforming from time domain system to a Fourier domain, where S, Fourier domain, S is, if you look at S is again explained this way, sigma plus I omega. Correct? This is our Fourier Laplace variable. Sorry. Oh, sir, I am not sorry. Fourier transform means I am taking t is equal to equivalent to omega. See, if whatever we have done in our earlier thing, this is basically Fourier transform, some sort of Fourier transform here, because I have used this concept to convert time domain system to frequency domain. See, initially it was time variable was there. After taking this information, it has gone to frequency domain. This equation is now in frequency domain. That is, in the Fourier transform, basically we transform the system from time domain to frequency domain. Okay.
Okay. So we can say that this is like an alternative proof for Fourier transform.
Yeah, alternative to Fourier transform. But it is the concept of modal. Because here we are taking the characteristics of the mass matrix and the stiffness matrix. Characteristics of the mass matrix and stiffness matrix is reflected in natural frequencies and the modal vectors. Okay.
Sir, and how do we know that the first 10 modes will only significantly contribute? And
no. That's why we have to do modal convergence. We have to take, let's say, for a particular problem, I have to take, let's say, I'll take 10 modes first, then 15 modes, then 20 modes. If I'm not getting major difference, means major error in these three models, then I can say 10 modes will be okay, or 15 modes will be okay, or 30 modes will be okay. Means in the modal domain, we have to do the convergence, modal convergence, what we call as the modal convergence.
So we have not, you have not covered that yet, right?
No, I have not covered that yet. I'll be covering that. Okay. So as a little more portion is there in this modal analysis. Next day I will continue. Today already it is 9:55. You may have some other class. So next day I will explain about the modal participation. Whatever actually we are coming now to the concept that whole system I am converting into modal domain, and then finding what is the contribution of mode 1, mode 2, mode 3 towards the overall response of the system. And in that sense, I can say whether I will take 10 modes or 20 modes or 30 modes. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, then you can leave now. You may have some other class.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.